Hello, 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 hello. How's everybody doing today? Good, 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 good. Well, I'm not gonna prolong, and everybody else that'll come on, that'll catch us on the replay. I want to introduce myself. My name is Apostle Alecia Biggers. I'm a leader, senior leader at Sword and Shield International Ministries in Columbus, Georgia. And I would like to welcome you to this week broadcast of Deliver Me From Me. And today we're going to talk about unresolved issues. I apologize of last week. I was having some complications with my tablet and I did not realize it. And so that's why I'm doing it over this week, talking about unresolved issues. So please forgive me for the breaking up with the broadcast. Can everybody hear me pretty well? Okay, good, good, good. But like I said, we're going to talk about unresolved issues. Why we're talking about unresolved issues? Because we're dealing with a lot of things going on. When you turn on the television, when you turn on, you look on the television, you look at what's going on in people's lives, what's going on in the church. A lot of people are hurting. A lot of people are in pain. A lot of people are dealing with grief and suffering. And see, a lot of this is going on, and people are not talking. People are not talking about how they feel. People don't have a person that they can begin to really let go of their feelings and their emotions. And so what happens is, if people are hurt, they abuse, they just move on to the next situation, not understanding this is how a lot of times this is how we get wounded and how we get hurt in our soul. We got to always remember that we are spiritual beings and that your soul is the real you. That's your intellect. And so when bad things happen to you, trauma, molestation, hurt, pain, grief, death, whatever it may be, when that soul get hurt, you got to understand it begins to change the way that you look at things. And a lot of times we don't deal with the things. We don't talk about, we don't find out what did we do wrong. We don't want to let anybody know what happened to us because we feel like we got to protect ourselves, not understanding that we got to get comfortable people with talking to people. A lot of times we are in the situation that we're in because we don't talk to people. You got to find somebody who you can trust, somebody who's not going to judge you, and somebody who's going to give you godly counsel, blessings where you can be able to express how you truly feel, and that they can begin to show you where you made the wrong decisions, and where they can begin to give you godly counsel to show you what you did wrong and what you should have did. Because a lot of times we establish coping mechanism from our dysfunctional upbringing. I don't care who you are, we have some type of dysfunctional upbringing, because a lot of things we learn what we learned because of who raised us, who taught us, who showed us different things. You may have learned things from television. You may have learned things from church, your culture, reading books, your family members. But can I tell you, but if you learn a bad coping mechanism, can I tell you that thing is going to shape the way that you see people. It's going to shape the way that you see things. And this is why we got a lot of unresolved issues. I got a definition for unresolved. It's something or a situation that has not been resolved. It's a question that remains unanswered or a decision that has not been made. It's something that lacks an ending. It's undressed emotions, something that's not solved, no resolution. And see, I began to look on the internet and I got 10 signs that shows that you're emotionally attached to your past negatively. The first thing is you won't talk about it. When you find yourself won't talk about your past, when you won't talk about your upbringing, when you won't talk about what happened to you, that's an indication that you got some unresolved issues and that this thing has affected you in a negative way. We got to begin to understand that when we begin to hide things, when we don't want to share, it's because we feel like we got to protect our family. We got to protect ourselves because we don't want nobody to know. Can I tell you, a lot of times when we trying to protect mama, grandmama, or whoever raised us, not understanding we are hindering ourselves, and we're bringing this unresolved issues into our life, and they are hindering us. We got to begin to start talking. It does not mean that grandmama, dad, or whoever was a bad person. What it's just saying is they might didn't know what to do to help us, or when somebody was talking about us, they might didn't know to say, baby, you know what, don't worry about it. We're going to pray. We're going to give it to the Lord. And so when somebody was you told them that somebody was talking about you, and they said, well, go talk about them. Go cuss them out. See, a lot of times we got negative coping mechanisms, and it formed us the way that we see things. And God is saying, we got to understand, just when grandmama told me to cuss somebody out, so now I'm a grown woman. So when somebody tell me something I don't like, guess what? I'm going to cuss them out, because that's a negative coping mechanism that I learned. And see, and this is what we got to begin to deal with, the unresolved issues. These unresolved issues, they will hinder the way that we see things in life. These unresolved issues will make us angry. You ever wonder why some people are so mad? You say they don't never smile. They don't never have anything good to say. A lot of times we judge these people. That's why it turns into resentment and bitterness. We don't understand why these people are mean or why they're upset, but we don't realize that these people have been hurt, and they dealing with some unresolved issues that they never told anybody. I had somebody told me that somebody raped them at childhood, and people wonder why this person acted very immature. And you look at them, you say, oh, they so childish, not understanding. They begin to say that they got raped at a young age. And so even though they are an adult, but their soul was damaged at the age that they was raped. And can I tell you, it brings unresolved issues. It caused that person to make bad decisions. It caused that person to see things in the wrong way. And see, and this is why we got to begin to say, Lord, help me to deal with, why am I angry? Ask yourself, why am I angry? Why don't I want to talk about what happened to me? Why do I feel like I gotta hide it? When I feel like I gotta hide my upbringing, when I gotta hide what was what my childhood was like, that's an indication that something is wrong. The number 2 thing says, when you get those old familiar feelings. In other words, when somebody talking to you about something in your past or something about in your life, and you start having a certain feeling and you start getting sick, that's an indication that you got some unresolved issues that you don't want to deal with, but you feel it in your gut. You feel nauseated. You feel like you're going to throw up, because these are things that you need to talk about, but you want to avoid it. And sometimes you'll find yourself getting mad at a person because they saying something about your upbringing that you dislike, but because you don't want to deal with it, it's either for you to be angry at them. It's either for you to want to retaliate at them, instead of saying, why am I mad? How come when they say this, how come I feel like I'm just getting upset with them? I want to cut their head off. I don't want to talk to them. It's because there's an unresolved issue. The third thing say, you can't be yourself around your family. If you find yourself when you going around your family members, and you say normally you're a talkative person, but when you get around your family, you just quiet, and your friends say, why you so quiet? You got to change your behavior around your family. It's because there's an unresolved issue, because you may have been criticized, you may have been talked about, you may have felt some kind of way, and so now you feel like you can't be yourself even around your family, because these are the people who put you down. These are the people who they labeled you, and you feel like you cannot be your real self because you got to protect yourself from these people. See, this is where God is saying we got to deal with these unresolved issues where you fear disapproval. In other words, you always trying to make people like you. That's an indication that it's unresolved issue. You can't be yourself because you want them to like you. Hey, you want to buy them lunch. You want to buy them gifts. You always want to show them, hey, I support you. You always want to let them know, blessings, Apostle. You always want to let them know that whatever you need me to do, I do it for you, because you're looking for approval. And these are indications, these are signs. The next sign say you react to your children like your parents did to you in a negative way. So if your parents holler and yelled at you, now you find yourself yelling at your children, and you know you did not like it when you was a child, but you find yourself doing the same thing that your parent did to you. That's an indication that this is unresolved issues that you need to deal with, and it's spilling out in your current life. I got right here. It says here, number 6, you will marry your parent of the opposite sex. So if dad was a quiet man and you're a lady, guess what? You're going to marry somebody quiet, just like how your dad. So this is what an unresolved issue would do, because subconsciously, we got to understand our subconscious mind is always recording. That's right, Marie. We always trying to buy love. We always trying to feel accepted. And see, and this is what our subconscious mind do. Even though we may say, I don't want to be like mama, I don't want to be like daddy, but your subconscious mind is recording 24/7. So you find yourself doing the very thing that you said that you don't want to do. And this is why God is saying we got to begin to look at how are we acting? How do you feel? How come you're disappointed? How come you're not satisfied with your life? You say that you're not satisfied with your life, but then yet you're not doing anything about it. Yeah, you say I don't like the way I look, but then yet you're not changing anything. Those are unresolved issues. When you find yourself, that's right, Marie, it's a cycle. You always saying what you don't like. You always saying I hate this, but you find yourself doing the very thing that you hated. Paul said the thing that I wanted to, that I don't want to do, I find myself doing, and the thing that I need to do, I don't do it, because it's that sin that's on the inside of me. And see, and this is where we got to be honest to ourselves and say, you know what, God, this is some unfinished business. Because can I tell you, the immature you is when you have learned negative coping mechanisms, when you have found things that hurt you, even things that you learned as a child, those things try to come up in your adult life, and the immature you don't want you to grow up. The immature you is the part of you that wants to fight to stay childish. It wants to keep things the way that it wanted to be. And seeing God saying that if you're going to walk in this mature place, you got to be able to recognize. So if I got into an argument with somebody and they begin to cuss me out and I begin to cuss them out, the immature me say, cuss them out again. I got to understand I'm letting the 10-year-old teenager, preteen, intervene in the 40-year-old life. And see, I got to begin to understand that that's not right. So then that's when I would have to say, you know what? I have to let my moral, you got to have moral conviction, because if you don't have moral conviction in your life, you'll begin to allow the immature you to take control. You'll begin to justify yourself. That's why people can justify themselves with hurting people, lying to people. They can be knowing that they lying to you and they don't feel no kind of conviction, because it's the immature them where they have learned how to deceive people. They have learned how to manipulate people. They learn how to see people suffer, and they don't have any type of conviction. And Holy Spirit said, this is where we got to begin to allow him to come in. This is why you read the word, because the word is going to morally convict you. The word is going to convict you to tell you what you're doing is wrong, what you thinking is wrong, what you're saying is wrong. This is why a lot of times people don't want to read the word of God, because they're familiar with the immature them. They like that part of them that let them, it's gratifying to do what you want to do. And I find myself seeing a lot of people, they make excuses. Well, I didn't mean to do it, but because you hurt me, and so you made me do this. And we have a lot of excuses for what we're doing, when we know the difference between what's right and what's wrong. But because we don't want to learn, that's right, Elder, positive coping mechanism, we want to hold on to the negative. And this is how we keep hurting people. And this is why thing is unresolved, because if you leave these doors open in your life, so guess what? If you got hurt at age 15 years old, a woman abused you, guess what? By that door being open, that devil is going to use that door every time a woman come in your life to abuse you, because you left that door open. This is why we got to begin to recognize when people are hurting us. We got to begin to recognize and say, you know what? We got to learn how to filter our thoughts between the thoughts of the enemy. What do I mean? So when the woman lied to me, and she hurt my feelings, and she told me that she was going to help me, and she didn't help me, and it made me feel like, you know what, don't nobody care about me, people always use me. I got to realize that those are lies. So the immature me will say, get her back. The immature me will say, you know what, try to scandalize her name, try to make her feel how she made you feel. See, that's the immature me is going to stoop to the level of the lady. But if I got the word of God in me, the word of God in me is going would tell me to take it to prayer. Take these situations back to the Lord in prayer, allowing him to deal with me. Begin to tell the Lord the hurt and the pain that she caused me, choosing to forgive her, choosing to let go of what she did to me, choosing to say, Lord, you know what? I refuse to allow what she's doing to hurt me anymore. And Father, I ask you to heal me so that when she come to try to hurt me again, I would not be moved. So when the lady began to use these accusations to try to hurt me, I would not respond. Why? Because I have gotten built up in God. I have given the situation to God, because a lot of times when we're arguing and when we're fussing with people, what we're doing, we're coming into agreement with these unresolved issues. We're coming into agreement with the lies that how Satan want to use us. So especially when people call you names and you feel like you got to explain yourself, you feel like you got to protect yourself. Can I tell you, you don't have to protect yourself. You got to know that God is your defense, and that you don't have to protect yourself when people call you out of your name, when people look at you some kind of way, people try to scandalize you. We got to begin to learn to let God be our defense and stop trying to prove to another person we're not who people say that we are. Because see, God's saying if we're going to resolve the issues, we got to begin to be the mature one to move on and let this stuff go. Because can I tell you, misery loves company. People would keep on bringing all this old stuff, the stuff in your past, keep bringing it back up, keep want you to talk about it, keep want you to argue about it, keep want you to fuss about it. And this is what we got to begin to say, you know what? Enough is enough. If you can't talk to the person maturely, you got to begin to get in prayer, and you got to begin to resolve this thing with the Lord, and you got to begin to close them doors. And so when the people begin to open up their mouth and they start saying negative things, you got to make up in your mind, I'm not going to go there. I'm not even going to argue with you. I am learning that sometimes we just got to be quiet and stand still and let the salvation of the Lord, let him fight your battles, because we're trying to fight battles. We're trying to clear our name when you can't change how a person think about you no way. This is why God is saying we got to let this go, because see, the enemy want to have us sick because we got these things in our mind. Why they think about this? Why they talking about me? How come they looking at me like this? You know, and you are idolizing these people. You're allowing these people, you're worshiping them because you trying to prove, let me talk, let me prove that you ain't like that. I want to show you. No, you are idolizing this enemy. You are idolizing these demons because they want you to make a fool of yourself. They want you to be ashamed, because can I tell you, when you dealing with unresolved issues, it's a cycle. It's constantly going, and you will never grow. You'll be stagnated. Can I tell you, when you dealing with unresolved issues, you will find those people, you waiting on them to apologize, and guess what? Sometimes they won't apologize. This is why we got to make up our mind, and we got to begin to say, Lord, help me get myself together. Lord, help me to forgive. Help me to let go. Even the hurtful words, what they said, regardless, it may be a family member, it may be a church member, it may be somebody on your job. You got to begin to say, what was point one? Point one was you won't talk about it. This is why we got to begin to say, Lord, help me. Help me, because see, this is where this enemy, it wants to have you replaying this thing over and over. This is what they did to me, or they hurt me. This thing happened to you 10 years ago, and you still talking about this thing as if it happened to you today. See, this is an unresolved issue, and can I tell you, the enemy will have you in this cycle, and you will never, these people going on about their business, but you still stuck about what they did to you, what they said to you. And God said, we got to stop. You got to get off this merry-go-round. You got to get off this roller coaster, and we got to stop remembering this thing. Stop mashing replay. We got to stop mashing replay. And then it's making you feel some kind of way. Do you not know? Well, I just remember how they hurt me. I remember how they let me down. I remember how they weren't there for me. God saying you got to let go. Even though sometimes he's showing me blessings. We want our family to be like how the Cosby Show. We want our marriage to be like the Huxtable. We want our church to be like the T.D. Jackson. We paint up these images, and God saying you got to understand you're going through the process. So when you're going through the process, you got to understand that's TV. A lot of that's not real life, and we're banking our life on an image. And a lot of times people are playing with these images. A lot of times people are faking the funk. People are not happy. They trying to play mind games to try to keep up with the Joneses. They trying to compete with one another. And God saying we got to deal with the unresolved issues. He said because we want to put on these facades as if we up here when we really down here. People can't even stand each other. Some people don't even talk to their children. They don't even talk to their siblings. But we look at them from the outside and it looks like it's perfect. And God said, go through the process and let me heal you. He said, let me deal with the immature you. Let me deal with your thoughts, how you've been looking at things from the wrong way. Let me show you the things that you've been doing wrong. Let me show you that you should have put up some boundaries. Let me show you where you should have changed your mindset. You shouldn't have let them came that far in your life. You should have left them on the porch. You shouldn't have let them came in your house. See, there's some things that God is showing us that we should do, but because we're still on the merry-go-round, we can't see and we won't allow anybody to come in because we still trying to protect ourselves. Can I tell you, when you're dealing with unresolved issues, that spirit of pride will have you thinking that you got to protect yourself. And you protecting yourself, you're pushing away your help. God will send somebody in your life to help you, but just because you feel like you got to protect yourself, you won't let nobody in. I'm going to show you when I turn your Bibles to 1 Peter, the 2nd chapter. We're going to look at verse 1. He says, so put aside every trace of malice and all deceit and hypocrisy and all envy and all slander and hateful speech. You got to understand, if you're going to deal with these unresolved issues, you got to stop trying to get people back. You got to stop trying to make people hurt because you hurt. You got to stop wanting them to suffer because you feel like what they did to you. Why? Because you got to remember, at a point in time, you did some hurtful things to other people too. But because grace and mercy, God gave you an opportunity to turn. And we got to begin to understand, God wants us. He wanted those same people who hurt us. He wants them to give them an opportunity to turn back to them, to turn back to him too. And see, but we want them to suffer. We want God to kill them. We want God to strike them dead. And now understanding that even that, he's showing us that our heart is tainted. Our heart is not right, because a lot of times we take pleasure in seeing people hurt. I've seen some people, a person is crying and another person look at them as if they don't feel no kind of empathy. You see another person going through and you don't find no kind of compassion. That means that you have an evil heart. And that's what that spirit of malice. See, we learned how to be malice because the Bible talk about in Genesis, it talked about when Eve was listening to the snake, and when she ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, she learned how to be evil. And a lot of times we have learned how to be evil. That's why we're dealing with these unresolved issues, because we feel some kind of way. We feel like you let me down. We feel like you disappointed me. We feel like, you know what, because you did that to me, I got to get you back. I got to make you feel how you made me feel. You embarrassed me, I got to embarrass you because you did that to me. See, these are things that we do, not just people in the world, but people in church. I have seen family members, co-workers, people in the community, next door neighbors. And just because, see, if you don't get healed, that spirit of malice, it will use you to go hurt other people. Malice is when you deliberately do evil. You know that you seen that person need a ride, but you turned your head because you don't want to give them a ride. You know you got it in your power to help them, but you choose not to help them because you want them to suffer. See, we got to check our heart. When you want people to suffer, you got to understand, not only do you got some unresolved issues, but you got some evil in your heart. And this is why he said you got to put aside the malice. You got to put aside deceit. What is deceit? You hiding the truth. You know what's right. Oh, I didn't hear you call my name. Oh, I didn't see that you called me. You know what's the truth. You know you seen me call you. You know you seen me trying to flag you down. But just because you wanted to see me suffer, you turned your head. How many times that we have done this to one another? And God saying, then we mad. How come your life is unfulfilled? How come you're mad because you see somebody else's life? It looks like they happy and you want to get mad and you want to hate on them. You want to wish hurtful things to happen to other people because you angry at them. Can I tell you, even a lot of things, even with our parents, a lot of times we have been angry with them because, but we got to understand a lot of things what we know now, our parents did not know. And see, if we're going to resolve these issues, we got to begin not to try to say, what they did was right. But what I'm saying is it was some things that my mom did, what my father did. It wasn't right. But when I look back at it, they never had anybody in their life telling them the truth. They never had anybody showing them what they was doing was right and showing them what they was doing is wrong. But no, it's not always the case, Rick. It's not always the case. But we got to begin to understand that they did not know. And a lot of times we try to make people punish. We try to punish them. If I don't tell them I love them, if I don't speak to them, if I try to hurt them, we got to begin to understand that's not the ways of God. We got to understand the Bible say, honor thy mother and thy father, that your days may be long. Can I tell you, God been showing me sometimes we may want our parents to be like the Huxtables, and it may have been our parent job just to get us here on earth, and he may put somebody else in your life to help you, but we mad because we saying, I want my parents to be like Bobby and Susie parents, and God said, I only had your parents just to get you here on earth. I want somebody else to show you how to love you. I want somebody else to take care of you. And so a lot of times we get it caught up, we get it twisted because of what we see on television, and we get angry and we carry these unresolved issues and we bring it into relationships, because God will bring you health. God will bring people in your life to show you how to love you, to show you that they care for you. But because you don't want to let go of your past, or because you're blind to your past, that you don't want to see the blessing that God is giving you, somebody who's trying to love you, somebody trying to show you this is how a woman should be, this is how a man should be, but because in your mind you still angry about what they did to you, you will push away God-given help. And see, and this is what God said, you got to lay aside. You got to begin to say, God, open up my eyes and show me my issues, because I got some unresolved issues. You got to begin to say, Lord, show me, what am I blind to? Can I tell you, I was blind to some things that I did not see. I had to say, Lord, open up my eyes, because I kept wondering, why was I looking at things a certain kind of way? How come I was feeling about certain situations? And God began to show me where I had some unresolved issues, and I had to begin to seek him for answers. Can I tell you that sometimes it's easy to operate in that spirit of escape? That spirit of escape, in other words, it's where you will act as if that thing never happened. That bad thing that hurt you, you will act as if it never took place. This is why you got to begin to say, Lord, open up my eyes. Open up my eyes that I can see how come I'm really the way I am? How come I don't love myself? How come I'm just angry? And I don't understand why I'm angry. How come I feel like, you know what, nobody loves me? How come I feel like I'm not good enough? How come I feel like, you know what, people always hurt me and people always misuse me? How come I feel like that? You know why? We got to begin to ask the Lord why. Because see, those are unresolved issues that we need to deal with. And see, we sit here waiting, think it's going to come out the sky, and you got to begin to say, God, I need you to show me. Because can I tell you, I begin to find out that even just being married, I used to look at my spouse to make me happy, and God had to begin to show me it's not your spouse's job to make you happy. It's your job to make you happy. Can I tell you, see, this is what, when you start closing and resolving issues, because you will stop trying to point the finger at other people. You'll stop trying to build a case, because a lot of times we try to point fingers what they did wrong. We can spout out a mile what people doing wrong. We can see their issue, but we don't want to bother with ours because we feel like I'm good. But no, something is wrong if you can spout out my issues, but yet you don't know what your issue is. You got to begin to say, Lord, deal with me. Show me what's my issue, because I understand I don't want to look for a man to make me happy. Fellas, if you're a man, you don't want to say, I don't want to look for this woman to make me happy. I want to be happy because of who I am. And you got to understand that person will enhance you. That person will bring more to you. But you got to understand, a lot of times we're looking for people to make us happy, not understanding it's your job to make you happy. It's because you're dealing with some unresolved issues, and because somebody told you some stuff about you, somebody told you was ugly, somebody told you were too skinny, you were too dark, short, your hair was too short. They told you all of that. And instead of you resolving those feelings, you kept all of those thoughts. And so now it made you insecure. And so now we try to be a people pleaser. Now we want everybody to like us. Now we want everybody to care for us. Why? Because I don't want to deal with, because when I was 12 years old, they told me I was too skinny. They told me I had baseball legs. They told me that I was ugly. So if I have not dealt with that, guess what? It's going to interfere with the 40-year-old woman. It's going to interfere with the man. This is why we try to play games. Oh, I'm fine. Oh, I'm good. That's a coping mechanism of pride. That's that spirit of pride. In other words, saying, back off. Ain't nothing wrong with me. It's where when you're lying to yourself as if you're all right, because if you was all right, you wouldn't keep finding fault with other people. See, because you got to understand, healthy people don't tear other people down. So when you find yourself tearing other people down, that's an indication because you're not healthy. That's an indication when you're making other people feel bad about themselves, it's because really you feel bad about yourself, but yet you take pleasure in knocking somebody else down. This is why I tell people, you got to understand we're dealing with demonic spirits, because when you got spirits in your mind, spirits are words, spirits are feelings. They want to display themselves. So they like making people feel hurtful. They like making people feel bad about themselves. So if you don't deal with these unresolved issues, you'll make yourself thinking, you'll have a false persona about yourself, and it really ain't like that about you, because really when you find yourself by yourself, you're isolated, don't nobody want to be around you, don't nobody want to talk to you, but then yet we have put up these airs, oh, I'm good, oh, I'm fine. We're protecting ourselves because we have been hurt by people. I don't know about you, but I have been there where I've been hurt by people, and I isolated myself, and I will always find fault with other people, but then yet I wouldn't let nobody in, because really I was really afraid because somebody's going to hurt me. But God had to begin to show me, not only are you isolating yourself from people, but you're isolating yourself from me, because I use people. See, we got to deal with these unresolved issues, because these unresolved issues is changing your behavior. It's changing your destiny. It's changing you to cause you to do things that God ain't never told you to do. It's causing you to move out of the will of God, because some relationships you have tore up, some relationships you have allowed to be destroyed because you messed them up, because you didn't want to deal with your unresolved issues. See, we don't like people that's going to cause us to grow. We don't like that challenge. See, that challenge is going to cause us to go into another place to say, you know what? Why am I doing that? Just like if you're not used to talking, if you're not used to talking to somebody, making eye contact with them, you always looking on the floor, and they saying, look at me. You don't like nobody who's saying, look at me, because they're challenging you to do something that you don't want to do. And if you ask yourself, well, why don't I like looking at people? But if you really ask yourself, you to really go back to your childhood or something in your teenage years, somebody said something to you that made you feel some kind of way. And so now you brought that same coping mechanism from the immature you. Now you brought that into your adult life. And see, now we got to stop making these adult. That's right. We do got to know the difference between somebody picking with you and somebody pointing out the unhealthy you. Because we got to begin to understand, if you can't see the unhealthy you, God will put somebody in your life who will show you you. And a lot of times, because we're so insecure, we will push it away. Oh, no, ain't nothing wrong with me. Oh, the devil is a lie. No, you got to be willing to listen, because everybody is not going to say the same thing. And when you find yourself pushing everybody out because you don't want to hear things about you, that's a sign of immaturity. That's a sign right there that you got some stuff going on, because God is showing us that it's time for us to own up to how come you're not happy. How come you trying to say, well, I don't have a husband? The devil is a lie. You mean to tell me God said you can't be happy because you ain't got a husband? You mean to say God, you ain't going to be happy because you don't have a wife? Those are lies from the pits of hell. How come you feel like you're not good enough? Okay, how come you're not asking God, why do I feel like this? See, you got to get to the unresolved issue. Why do you not feel good enough? How come when you get around other women or other men that are successful, you got the same thing they got, but you still look down on yourself? Because that's an indication it's some unresolved issues that you have allowed to bring over into your adult life. And God's saying, I'm ready for you to deal with it. Because can I tell you what this unresolved issue would do? It'll have you being stuck. We can be here in the year 2020 because they hurt you in the year 2000. Guess what? Even though we in 2020, but in your soul, you still thinking like 2000 because that's the area you stopped growing. That's the area where you was hurt at. That's the area where you felt like, you know what? Until they apologize, I can't move until they apologize. Can I tell you, you cannot put your success, you cannot put your life waiting on these people to apologize to you. Can I tell you, some of these people was hired from hell to mess you up. They was hired from hell to keep you stuck. And you got to begin to say, God, I choose to forgive them. I choose to let them go. And I choose to move on. See, this is where you got to begin to say, I'm going to move on. You got to take the mature road. I'm not going to wait on you to tell me you sorry. I'm not going to wait on you for you to come and tell me you were wrong for what you did to me. And you may not never come. And see, a lot of times we sit here waiting on people to come and they hadn't showed up. And God's saying, what are you waiting on? You got to forgive these people and move on. What you mean, Apostle? You got to begin to say, Lord, I choose to let go what they said. I choose to let go how they make me feel. I choose. You got to understand, forgiveness is a choice. It's your choice whether or not you forgive them. Your flesh may not want you to forgive, but you got to understand, if you are a kingdom citizen, if you want to go forward in God, you got to choose to let them go. And this is a daily process. I let them go. And you will know whether or not you have let them go, because when you see them, the hurt and pain that you used to feel, you don't feel it no more. Because you're looking at them as if they are a regular person. Because you saying, you ain't that important to stop me from growing. You ain't that important. Because can I tell you, when we're harboring these unresolved feelings, can I tell you, it will affect the way that you see everything. It will affect the way that you see everything in life. And God is saying, we got to stop. We got to stop. We got to deal with the hurt. We got to deal with the pain. Find somebody who you can trust. Find somebody who you can talk to. Because see, this is what he was telling us in First Peter, the 2nd chapter. He say, put aside the malice. Put aside the deceit. Put aside the hypocrisy. You got a lot of people, they got the hypocrisy. In other words, pretending to be one way and really another way. So you pretending like you got it together at church, but then when you get home, you just falling to pieces. You got to pop pills. You got to do all this stuff. See, that's an unresolved issue, because I'm trying to paint a facade in front of people. I'm trying to make people think I'm one way when really I'm another way. Really, I'm a hot mess. I'm a wretch undone. But in front of people, I want to act like I got it together. You got to understand that that's an indication of an unresolved issue. And God's saying, how long you going to keep painting this picture? How long you going to keep playing this role? See, what these unresolved issues do, it make us play a role. I got to play a role like I got it together. I want to play a role because I got the nice house. I got the nice car. But not understanding, in my mind, I feel like I'm going to have a nervous breakdown. You got people want to commit suicide because these unresolved issues, they feel like they can't tell nobody because they feel like people going to judge them. They feel like people won't understand. And not understanding, we all got issues, but we got to stop faking the phone, acting like we got it together, and say, you know what? No, I got some stuff. I got some stuff that I need God to deal with. Can I tell you, it's okay to get you a counselor. It's okay to talk to a minister. It's okay to get you a coach. It's okay to get with somebody that's going to tell you the truth. That's right, Marie. Your mouth gonna always tell on you, because we can play the part like we good, but eventually the real you gonna come out. We only can fake for so long. And see, and this is why God is saying, We got to be honest. Because a lot of times when we come into church, we come into the altar talking about finances, and we coming up there talking about finances, house and cars. But can I tell you, your soul can't prosper if you don't get healed. You got a lot of people, we want to do the things of God, but we are wounded. We are spiritually wounded. And God said, I want you to be in good health. He said, I want your soul to prosper. He said, I want you to be at a place where you won't be around here trying to pretend. You won't try to pretend that you got it going on. Because can I tell you, a lot of people, we fake the phone because we look like we got it together when really we are a hot mess. We can't even function. But because people don't know the difference between a healed person and a wounded person, a lot of times people are so attracted to the wounded person, not understanding you're attracted to the familiar spirit. Because when you hear the truth about how to get healed, you realize that that's going to take some work. You hear, that's going to take me have to deal with the way I feel. That's going to take me have to deal with the way that I see things. Because can I tell you, if you have not dealt with these unresolved issues, it's going to cause you to look at healthy things unhealthy. I'm going to say that again. If you don't deal with the unresolved issues, it's going to cause you to look at healthy things in an unhealthy way. You'll be looking at somebody who's the truth, but because you have not gotten healed, you will look at that person as if something is wrong with them when really something is wrong with you because you have not allowed the Spirit of God to heal you. So you're looking at a healed person and you find fault. This is why a lot of times people get jealous of people who are healed, people who walking in confidence, people who walking in assurance. A lot of times insecure people will look at those people and get jealous and they will hate those people, not understanding it's because your unresolved issues, that's the reason why you looking at them in a negative way. Because instead of you going to them and say, hey, can you help me? Can you give me some tips? You will look at them and find fault with them, not understanding it's because you are wounded. Can I tell you, being wounded, it caused me to look at some people who was meant to help me, and I looked at them like they was my enemy. That's why we're talking about the unresolved issues. Because if you don't begin to see that you yourself need help, you got to understand God will put somebody in your life that will tell you that you need help. But if he puts somebody in your life to tell you that you need help and you still don't listen, that means, in other words, your life is going to go down. It's going to take some turns and some twists that God never meant for it to take. The simple fact is because you did not listen to the help he gave you. And see, because of your insecurities and because of your jealousy and because you never really found out the reason why you feel the way that you feel, and because something that happened to you in your childhood life, your teenage life, you brought it into your adult life. And so you got some adults, you still bring these immature, childish ways in the way that you act, in the way that you treat people, and you feel like you got a right to do what you do because of your age. You can be 50 years old, but still carrying on like a 15-year-old. Yeah, your body may look like it's 50-year-old, but your soul is 15 because you're immature, because you have not grown. You are stuck, and because you do not want to deal with your feelings. Because when you're dealing with unresolved issues, you got to begin to pay attention to your temper tantrums. When people telling you the truth, how are you feeling? Are you getting mad? What you getting mad for? And you know they telling you the truth. Because if they telling you the truth, why would I get mad if you telling me the truth? Because the Bible tell me the truth is going to set me free. So I understand that God is trying to set me free. But because them demonic spirits on the inside of me, they don't want me to listen to you. So then therefore, them spirits say, be mad at her. Oh, she judging you. She talking about you. She trying to make you feel some kind of way. That's them demons talking to you because they don't want you to know how to be mature. And a lot of times we're listening to the immature us and we're making decisions in life based off the immature you when you have not even given the mature you a part to try to make a decision. Because see, when I mature, I begin to say, you know what? Is it a good time for me to get the car? Can I afford the car? See, the mature me is going to do the pros and the cons. But the immature me, I want the car. I want the car. The immature you want what you want. But you may want it, but is it good for you? Because see, it's a dangerous thing to want what you want. And God is saying, but you're not ready for this. He's saying, but this person is not good for you. But I want them anyway. You got to understand God will allow you to get what you want. Isn't that what he did to the children of Israel when they wanted a king? And he said, you don't need a king. I'm your king. But they say, we want a king anyway. And God said, okay, this king is going to make you go through some stuff. I'm going to give you exactly what you want. And see, and this is what this unresolved issue would do. It will cause you, well, you don't want to listen to God. You will want what you want. God will tell you, I need you to go work over here. But I want this job because it's going to give me more money. But God know that you ain't ready for this right now. God know that this is going to take you down a direction that you're not ready to go down. But because you don't want to listen, you go take the job anyway. Then now all kind of stuff is going on and you say, God, why is this happening to me? It's happening to you because you never did with your unresolved issues. You did not want to listen when mama wanted to tell you when mama tried to give you counsel. You didn't want to hear it then. And so now you still don't want to hear counsel. So in your mind, you thinking that you know what you're doing. You keep making the same mistakes because you're not dealing with you. You're not dealing with your unresolved issues. And God's saying, we gotta stop. Get off the merry-go-round. Get off this cycle and begin to look at your life and say, why am I doing what I'm doing? How come I keep picking the same kind of person? How come I keep picking the same kind of friend? How come I keep bringing the old bondage into my new life? You keep bringing the old stuff into your new relationship. You bring the old stuff from your old church into your new church, and you wonder why you keep, well, every time I go to a church, it's this. No, the person, what's the common denominator? You got to get rid of your bondage. You got to get rid of these cycles that you're doing. You got so many people because we don't understand the spiritual realm. We don't recognize it. We don't recognize that we are spiritual beings, and the things that we never dealt with, we bring them unresolved issues into our now. And if you do not deal with those unresolved issues, you're going to continue to deal with those unresolved issues all your life. This is why God's saying we got to stop. We got to begin to pay attention to what you are doing. You wonder how come God keep giving me all these promises about all this money. But if you keep spending all the money, God is not going to, he said, too much is given, much is required. God is going to give, you're going to see what are you doing with the money he give you. But if you spend every dime you got, guess what? You're still not learning. If you charging every card, you're still not learning. Don't buy it just because you can get it, but do you really need it? Because see, that spirit of self-gratification, it will kill you. It will make you think that you deserve it. You feel like every time you go to the store, I had that thing. You got to get something. You got to get what you want. That's a demon from the pits of hell, and it comes from unresolved issues. It's because you say, you know what? When mama told me, she always told me no. So every time I go to the store, I'm going to get what I want. That spirit is a spirit of poverty. I had to learn that. You would destroy everything. That's right, Marie. You would destroy everything. You won't have anything because everything you get, you spend it. Somebody give you $20, you spend it. You don't even have $100 in your savings account because you find a way to spend it. And God's saying, I'm just waiting on you. You and your unresolved issues. You and your unresolved issues. And you look at other people. And it's so easy to be jealous. It's so easy to be mad. But you don't want to do anything about it. God said, no, I got to take you to the root. Why did you start doing this? You got to now begin to dissect. Why did this happen? Why did that happen? Why did this happen? So that you can begin to see and say, okay, now I see where I went wrong. See, but a lot of times we don't want to do that. We just want to go on next. And that's why we keep making the same mistakes we making. Because we don't want nobody to tell us nothing. We don't want nobody to know our business. No, it's okay. I don't care. If you're going to help me to make my life better, I got to be willing to go through these feelings. Because guess what? When I'm going through these feelings, them thoughts in my mind going to tell them, oh, they judging you. Oh, you don't want nobody to know your business. Devil, shut up. I got to be free. I got to be delivered. You got to begin to understand that if you want your life to be better, you got to close some doors. You got to begin to stop. Even if you saying, you know what, I want to move forward, Close the door with the messy people. Close the door with the people who don't want anything. Close the door with the people who trying to hinder you. We trying to go forward, but you keep on going with the people who don't want nothing. You can't go forward if you keep going with the people who don't want nothing. It's not saying that you better than them, but in other words, they're not ready to go with where you're going. So guess what? You got to be willing to go by yourself. Blessings. You got to be willing to say, you know what? I love y'all, but when you're ready, you'll know where I'm at. But I got to go forward. Can I tell you, this is a season when you going through deliverance. Can I tell you, it's a season where it's going to be just you and God, because that's the way God needed to be, because God needs you to be healed with you, because a lot of times it's so easy for us to talk to other people, and God said, I got to deal with the unresolved issue about you. Why don't you like you? Why do you got a problem with you? How come you still living on what they said about you? How come you don't like to be in the room by yourself? Go take yourself to lunch. Go take yourself to a movie. Go take yourself to the park. Why do we always got to have somebody with us? Because we got issues with ourselves. We don't like ourselves. God said you got to forgive yourself. We've been holding ourselves hostage because of the mistake that we made, and we still trying to punish ourselves. And God said, if I forgave you, who are you to keep holding yourself hostage because of this? It's time to let this stuff go. It's time to move forward and begin to start loving on yourself. Begin to start helping yourself, encouraging yourself, doing things that's going to make you feel better about yourself. Stop waiting on somebody else to make you feel good about you. It's your responsibility to make yourself feel good about you. We got to stop waiting on other people. Because you're waiting on other people and you feel like if they come, my husband come, everything gonna be fine. I get my house, everything. No, everything still won't be fine because you haven't dealt with your unresolved issues. Because if you go down to 1 Peter, look at verse 11. 1 Peter, 2nd chapter, verse 11. He said, Beloved, I urge you as aliens and strangers in this world to abstain from the sensual urges, those dishonorable desires that wage war against your soul. Because see, these thoughts will come against your mind. These thoughts will come to try to make you feel some kind of way because you comparing yourself to the people in the world. Where the people in the world got this, they family happy, they children happy. You don't know what those people in the world doing. You got to understand. He said you got to abstain. He said in this world to abstain from the sensual urges, those dishonorable desires. We talking about 1 Peter, the 2nd chapter, verse 11. He said those dishonorable desires, they wage war. These thoughts that we see on TV, these people, oh, they look like they so in love. You don't understand them people fight 24/7, but in front of people, oh, they look so in love. I just want to be like that. And in your mind, you beating yourself up because you feel like you don't have anybody. When really you ain't ready for nobody yet, but you beating yourself up. I just want to be like them. It look like they so happy. No, get out of that fantasy. Get out of that lust. Get out of that perversion. And God said, allow me to heal you. Allow me to close the door from when the last person hurt you. Allow me to close the door when the last person abused you. Because if you don't deal with these unresolved issues, you're going to take that bondage into your new relationship, and you're going to be looking at them to hurt you like the other people did. And then you're going to continue this cycle. How long we going to keep doing this, people of God? How long we going to keep looking at situations and we expecting things to change, but we really have not dealt with what we put in our mind? We have not dealt with our issues. We have not dealt with the things that make us sad. We have not talked to anybody about how we feel about certain situations, but you think things are going to magically disappear. No, it's not. They always say, oh, time heals everything. Can I tell you, time don't heal everything? Only thing time do is time go on. But guess what? If they hurt you, you still going to feel that hurt. The only way you're going to get rid of that hurt is when you talking and you asking God to heal you of that hurt. And you begin to see, where did you allow this person to come in? See, we got to begin to sit back and say, okay, what did I do wrong? Did I make this people my God? Because a lot of times we made people our gods. Sometimes we put people in a place where God is supposed to be at. And see, a lot of times, but if you don't ever sit back, you keep doing this every time you get in a relationship, then you wonder why the relationships are bad or why something always happens. It's because you got to look at to see, what are you doing? But if we don't ever come back to say, you know what, I got to break this cycle. That's why, Elder Moore, I got to break this cycle. I got to see, why do I keep doing what I do? How come every time I meet somebody new, how come I'm always distrustful? Lord, where did this come from? See, we got to begin to go back to say why, and be patient to sit there with Holy Spirit and allow him to bring the thing to your mind. See, he want to talk to us, but a lot of times if he don't say it in 1 minute, we gone. And that's not how we're supposed to be, people of God. If you're going to go through deliverance, you're going to have to keep asking him, God, I need you to show me. God, I need you to show me. What am I doing? Where did I make the wrong decision at? Show me me. Show me me. Open up my eyes. I need to fast. I need to pray. I need you to show me, because I'm tired of crying over spilled milk. I'm tired of feeling like I can't be myself. And see, you got to know that something is going on, because see, that was one of the things here. It said that you keep repeating the same mistakes over and over again. That's an indication that you are emotionally, that you're dealing with an unresolved emotion. You keep doing the same thing, and it's not getting better. You know what to do, but you keep doing the same thing. You keep going back to the wrong thing. And see, it's because you're not looking at what you're doing. You got to pay attention to your thoughts. You got to pay attention to what you're doing and what you're saying, because God is showing you, you got to deal with these issues. If you don't deal with these issues, they're going to deal with you, people of God. They are going to deal with you. So as I close out of this week of Deliver Me From Me, I pray something that I have said, that it has triggered you to say, you know what, I got to deal with this issue. I got to deal with these unresolved issues. I'm tired of going in the same circle. You know, we got to pray and ask God to give us the grace to confront our issues. Because a lot of times we try to escape our issues. No, you got to confront them. Because when you confront your issues, you can see what you're doing that's right, and you can see what you're doing that's wrong. We got to pay attention to our feelings, because our feelings been everywhere. We've been so emotional. We can go from 0 to 10 just like that. It's because we got to learn how to control our emotions. If we're not controlling our emotions, we all over the place. And seeing God say it's an indication, because unresolved issues. We got to understand, what are your emotions, responses to things that have happened to you internally and externally. And so if you don't know how to go through, and all you know how to do is to panic and scream and act a fool, guess what? You're an emotional person. And people going to always mess your buttons. They're going to always keep messing with you. You are never to be able to get healed, because you keep responding. Where they throw off on you on Facebook, so I'm going to say something back to them. So they call you and said something, so I'm going to say something back to them. No. Let them talk. Let them say whatever they say. You got to work on being healed. You got to work on being delivered. Because God's saying that he want to deal with these emotional issues. Go back to 1 Peter, the 2nd chapter, and begin to read that whole chapter. I promise you, it will bless you. I promise you. Let God take you through the process. That's what I'm allowing him to do, to deal with these unresolved issues. Because it seems like every time I get over something, God began to show me something else. And guess what? We're going to still be seeing issues as long as we on earth, we're going to see issues. But God's saying that he wants us to be in a place that we're constantly dealing with ourselves. And guess what? I'd rather be dealing with myself than to never deal with myself. I'm going to say that again. I'd rather deal with myself than to never deal with myself. Because you got a bunch of saints in church, and they have never went to no deliverance. They haven't had any deliverance. I'd rather be going through my deliverance, allowing God to show me, show me where I'm messed up, than for me to be going to church and don't know I got any issues. Thinking I just need money in a car. Not knowing that I got a bunch of stuff going on in my mind, but I don't even know what's wrong with me. And that's the state of the church. This is why we don't see the power operate in our lives the way that we do. How can you, if you don't believe him to heal you, if you don't believe him to deliver you, how in the world are you going to do signs, wonders, and miracles? You can't do no signs, wonders, and miracles if you don't believe him to heal your mind, to heal your soul. That's why we don't see it in our churches. Because people, we have gotten so materialistic. And God's saying, I'm looking for a people. He said, I want you to be in good health, and I want your soul to prosper. In other words, I want your mind to prosper. I want your mind to be in good health. You got to ask yourself, is my mind in good health, or do I got a bunch of unresolved issues? You angry, you frustrated, you disappointed, you're mad, you resentful, you're dealing with rejection. You're dealing with all this stuff and you ain't doing nothing with it. Those are unresolved issues. And God said we got to deal with the issues. We got to deal with our issues. And can I tell you, it's an indication that you love you. You ain't no good to nobody else if you don't love you. This is why you fight for you. You fight for you to be delivered. So because Christ lives within you. He lives within your temple. Amen. So we're going to close out this day. And I pray that the Lord bless you. I pray that it's something that I have said, that it calls you to be able to confront your issue. And that you're saying, okay, I see my unresolved issue. I see the things that I need to deal with. And begin to stay there. Keep asking him until he begin to answer you and reveal to you what it is. And so we're going to do part 2 Saturday at 3 a.m. We're going to close it out. I'm going to begin to pray for part 2 of dealing with unresolved issues. So if this message was a blessing to you, please share it with other people, message other people. I believe that this is a season that God is still healing and delivering his people. And so we still got to know, even though people are dealing with other stuff, but God is still in the healing business too. Amen. So as I close out, you all be blessed. Amen.